Hello everyone, welcome to our webinars. My name is Oksana and this is Education USA Virtual in Eurasia and Central Asia. Just to remind you that our advising services are fully virtual and we provide individual and group advising sessions, undergraduate and graduate application guidance, essay review support, virtual workshops, webinars, and competitive students program. So if you are interested in these opportunities, please scan QR code and join our events. And today I'm glad to introduce our new topic for the webinar. We're going to talk about how to build a personalized undergraduate application strategy. And of course, you know that every applicant is unique, so your strategy should be also unique. Today, you will learn how to build a tailored undergraduate application plan, and this plan will help you to strengthen your application and stands out to admissions committee. I'm happy to introduce my wonderful colleague, Megan, from San Jose State University, and she will present this topic for you today. So if you have any questions about this topic, don't forget to write them in the chat and we will be glad to answer them at the end of the presentation. Hi, Megan. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Oksana. It's so lovely to be here with you all. And good afternoon, good evening to everyone who is joining us. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Yes, so my name is Megan Abrahamson, and I am an international student recruitment specialist at San Jose State University. I've been here for about 1 year now. And before I was an English language fellow, and Oksana and I know each other from that. So it's really cool to be able to see each other again. But that is not the topic for today. Today, we are talking about building a personalized undergraduate application strategy. And so, for Central Asia and Eurasia, this is a picture of our one of our gates on our building. This is we're located in California. So I'm going to show you a little bit also about our university, as well as building a personalized undergraduate application strategy. And this is in particular information for CSU schools. So I'll explain more about that as we go along. Yes, so also, I already mentioned the first 2 bullet points, but mainly people know us from our location, which was we are located in the heart of Silicon Valley, and it brings a very diverse and international community. And you're also going to gain the skills and expertise of the application strategy. Okay, so just a little bit of background of our school. In California, just as in many, universities around the world, there are public and private universities. So San Jose State University is a public university, and we are in the CSU system. So you also have to know that there is another categorization of public universities in California. So you have UCs, which are University of California. Those are like UC Davis or UC Berkeley. And then there is another set of California state universities, which are also public universities. And there are 23 campuses. And this is important information about the application, because when you start your application, you don't start on the San Jose State University website. You start on the CSU application website. So that's why this information is relevant right now. When you apply to our university, you can also select other universities within the CSU system that you can apply to at the same time. So you don't have to keep doing so many different applications. There is a little bit of confusion sometimes with international applicants, because many universities in the United States use the Common App. And I'm sure you have heard of that before if you have applied to any university within the US. And in California, we're like our own country. We have our own rules and different policies. So yeah, that is one of the reasons why. Our campus in San Jose is actually the oldest campus that was founded in 1857. And if you are unfamiliar with the location of California on the map of the United States here, you can see that we are the red state here on the West Coast. The West Coast is the best coast, apparently, in my opinion. And it's actually quite a long state. So it's more than 12 hours if you were to drive from the top to the bottom. This picture is a picture of our tower building, which was one of the original buildings from when it was founded. And we have been ranked top 5 public university in the US with over 40,000 students from all over the world and the highest international international student population out of all the CSUs with over 250 degree programs. So yeah, that's just a little background information. So one of the things that I would say would be the best indicator and a good starting point is to think about where you want to be located. A lot of international students who I speak to say that they would like to be by family members. They already have family members in the US. A lot of them say they don't want to be anywhere near their family members in the US. So yeah, think about that. But another caveat you should think about is this location going to be a good place where there are many opportunities? And that's where the Silicon Valley advantage comes from for us here. As you can see on the map, if you zoom in, we have San Francisco is probably the most famous city in the Bay Area. And we're located here with our little Spartan logo. We're in the South Bay. And as you go along this whole peninsula, there's many headquarters of tech companies, social media, auto industry, computer chip making, LinkedIn, even Pixar, for example. So the first advice that if I can give any would be about the same thing when you're buying an apartment, a house, and they always say location, location, location. So if this is up your alley, and if you're interested in computer science, data analysis, anything like that, then this is going to be a good spot for you. And I'm going to also explain why. The reason is because over 25,000 jobs in California, San Jose State University helps support that. So we are the #1 public university for Silicon Valley hires. And the reason is because of our relationship that we have with many of these organizations and companies in the area. So many times you will have people who are working from these companies will be able to come in and maybe teach one of your classes, or they are retired from working at one of these companies and we can hire them as a professor. So it's kind of like this brain system that's in this area. Apart from the many opportunities, which is the #1 for international student employment outcomes in the US, there are over 300 days of sunshine. So it's actually just such a lovely place to be. Also, the #1 safest large city in the United States, and it's also very diverse. The next part about your application strategy, you should think about the program that you're interested in studying. So for example, if you're interested in coding, we have a recent ranking, which is number 2. It's only second to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, for coding that just came out this year. So it can be difficult not to focus on rankings. It does play an important part. You want to look at your QS rankings and things like that, but you really want to be able to tailor the situation for you because there are so many universities out there. We're also ranked number 1 for international student employment outcomes and value. And the reason for that being because unfortunately, it is the most expensive area to live in the United States. But the reason why is because of all of the opportunities that there are here. And luckily, out of all of the public and private universities, since we're a public university, we're able to keep our tuition prices down. And actually, the cost of living is higher than the tuition. So yeah, there's nothing really we can do about the cost of living. Yeah, I'm feeling that too. But knowing that you're making that investment in your future um, is very good. They always talk about what's the return on investment, and yeah, we're ranked number 1 for most transformative university. Okay, so that's the first 2 steps that I would say are important in trying to understand what your goals are. So when you're thinking about where you want to study, of course, you have to think about your career goals. And if you're anything like me, maybe you don't know what your career goals are and you just really love something. So, for example, I studied international studies because I just really loved learning about different people, places, and cultures and languages. And luckily, I have this job now that I'm able to be face to face with all of those things on a daily basis. So it's not always the case that you know what you want to do. And hopefully, you can work hard to get uh, a job where or a career where you really are enjoying yourself for it. It doesn't feel like work. So if you have that information in mind, you can kind of reverse engineer your academic path to fill in the blanks about how to get to your career goal. So maybe you have a best friend and you just want to be with them, and that's a good start, but you also have to think about, do you align with your friend on where you want to be? So I think that the strategy also depends on your academic profile. Biggest thing we get is we have to make sure that you have the eligibility to apply. So what does that mean? Do you meet the application requirements? For our university, for example, you need to take math classes. You need to take English classes. Luckily, if you've been able to take an English language proficiency test, or if your school is the medium of instruction is in English, then you might be eligible for an English test waiver. At our university, we actually don't have any English classes that are pathways to degrees, but we do partner with other universities like in San Francisco or community colleges that do offer English language classes. If you think that you need to, you know, if you don't think that you'll be able to meet those requirements. Think about your budget as well. There are many other universities in the United States that offer really great scholarships, really great deals on off of tuition, especially if you have very good grades. You have a high GPA. So spend some time looking at that as well. Think about your career goals. We talked about that already. And also your timeline. So, are you going to be ready to apply by the coming fall, or you might have to wait until spring coming up? Yeah, usually at this part, I like to ask people, do you know what impaction means? But since, yeah, we don't have a lot of engagement on this format, then I will just tell you the answer. Impaction means that it's a popular program. So it means you have to have a stronger application than just meeting the minimum requirements. Okay? So for example, in computer science, that one is impacted at our school. And that also means that instead of just the 3.0 GPA requirement, you really should be having a 3.8 or 3.9 if you want to be competitive. So you have to understand that when you do pick a university or a community college for the program that is popular there, it's going to have to be a standout application profile. And yeah, the best way to do that is to work on your grades, because our university, like many other universities in the United States, are merit based, especially for undergraduates. We don't require letters of recommendation or statement of purpose. We don't require SAT or ACT. It's very heavily based on your GPA, on your grade point average. And that means all of the grades that you've gotten in your classes in high school. That's what we look at. So think about what the application requirements are for the university that you would like to apply to, at least a few years in advance. That's going to be able to give you the time to increase your grades for a better application. For example, for our school, in the math classes, you can't get below a C minus for certain programs, like in engineering as well, that can also be highly impacted. Yeah. Okay. By the way, please make sure you ask questions so that hopefully we'll have some time to answer them at the end. I know it's a lot of information. Okay, so it looks like maybe this page didn't download exactly, but that's okay. We've got one picture at least with some nice balloons. At our university, we are obviously pushing very hard on artificial intelligence. The reason being, we are in Silicon Valley, and we want to be able to equip our students with the skills and the knowledge that they will need to be successful, to be competitive for these jobs in the Bay Area, in Silicon Valley. So, how are some of the ways that we are doing that? We have a whole web page that you can see about that. But also, this is a picture of our library. Now, there's some new initiative about introducing AI into helping you at the library, also with teaching extra classes. And this library, it's also open to the public. So one side opens to our campus, the other side opens to downtown, and the first couple of levels are for everybody, and then the top floors are just for students. But the reason why I mentioned this is because when you're picking a university or a college, you should also make sure that could be some research assistant teaching assistant opportunities. And there are teams of people like me who are working at universities that are easily able to answer these questions that you have. For example, if like that you have a question at any time, you can reach out to us and then we'll be able to answer your question, because sometimes there is a lot of information on the website and it can be confusing. So, yeah, there are many humans behind the website who are ready and willing to help you out with that. Okay. Another tip for your application strategy is the diversification. So, of course, we already mentioned reverse engineering. So, it's also good to have some safety schools. You can have the schools that you are really interested in going, and why not shoot for the stars if you're able to pay the application fee and you're able to understand. Also, a good note, if you want to like apply to any of the universities in the CSU system in addition to ours, it's just a one-time application fee of $70, but potentially you could apply to 23 different universities with that same application fee. So that's a good tip as well. Yeah, you have to think about different options. So something that's going on right now that I've been seeing with international students is they're not just applying in the US, they're applying to Australia, they're applying to Canada, they're applying to UK, to Ireland, and yeah, that's okay. Not going to say you have to only apply to our university. That's not realistic, but in general, do your research on what universities would be compatible with you. If the location is important to you, about how far you want to be from your family, there are also many U.S. universities that are in Dubai, for example, or are in China, for example. So if you're considering you would like to go to a US university, but you wouldn't like to go to the US, there are those options as well that you can apply to. But of course, if you want the experience of being in the US, then there's no comparison to that. Also, it's very important to think about the visa success rates, the affordability, and the outcomes. So, think about where you are applying from, or if you have a passport or residency in a different country, that might help you apply. For example, it's very difficult to secure a visa appointment interview in India right now, just because there are many people like applicants from there. That's where we get most of our applicants from, and people are noticing that now there aren't many spots that will allow them to come to university on time. They might have to defer, for example. So also think about that. And yeah, after you finish your application and submit all of your documents, then we send your application to the program that you apply for. They make a decision about whether or not you've been admitted. And after you, get your decision and you accept the intent to enroll, then you will get the I-20, which is needed for you to apply for your visa to schedule the appointment. So you also have to think about, to get all of those documents and to make all of those processes, like have them easily accessible, ready to go so that you don't delay on securing a visa appointment for scheduling your student visa interview. Okay, a lot of information. Maybe we need to take a break now. No, we can keep going. Maybe I'll just take a drink for a second. Okay, all better now. This is a big part for your application strategy. How can you pay for the university? Because it's not always the case that you can get a full ride scholarship. They do exist, and it's important information. If this is really your dream and you coming up short in any aspect, I would say that's where Education USA comes in. Maybe they can help you out with learning about what some scholarship opportunities there are. Excuse me. I know that in certain countries like Uzbekistan, for example, there are government scholarships that you can apply for if you are selected and admitted to a university. So that is a great way to help pay for your education. So you have to, when you're thinking about paying for the tuition and the scholarship, you have to think in many different ways. So first of all, think about what funds are available personally, what funds are available through scholarships, and what funds are available in scholarships. There are scholarships from the university that you apply to, and there are scholarships that are from different entities, like private entities like McDonald's or Adobe, and then from governments as well. So you have to think about the whole picture of where can I apply to scholarships, and then you have to also make sure you have a look at the deadlines. So for example, we have a scholarship at our university that's just for international students. It's called the Global Spartan Scholarship, but the application period is already closed for this. And if you want to apply for this scholarship, you have to make sure, number one, you know when it opens and when it closes. So when you're looking up how to fund your studies, the first step I would say is find out what is available to you. And then the other very important thing is find out the application period. Ours, for example, is only open for 1 month. So then you have to wait another year if you miss that deadline. So mark it on your calendar. For example, this year, for the Global Spartan Scholarship, we had over 100 applications, and we were able to award, I think, around 10 students with about $5,000 each. So you can see with how much the tuition is, in addition to the living expenses, that $5,000, as nice as it is, it's not going to cover. So you might have to apply for multiple scholarships. And there are other universities, as I mentioned, that can help pay for 75% of your scholarship if you have a good GPA. But yeah, that should also be one of the first steps to think about our scholarships available. Yeah, we have a page there. Also, talking to Education USA is very important. There are jobs available. As an international student, you are eligible to work 20 hours per week in your first year. But also, you're not going to be able to use that to say, okay, well, I'm going to get a job, so that's where this money is going to come from. Actually, no, you have to show that you have this amount of money before you're going to be accepted to the university. Before you will get your I-20, you have to show that you have that amount of money in the bank. So it can't be about future money that you're going to be getting or that you will hope to be getting. But of course, when you do get on campus, we have special websites that only students and alumni have access to. That it's called Handshake, and you will be able to apply for many on-campus jobs. So if you want to work at the sports center, or if you want to work with us, we have 2 student assistants who work for us, helping us answer emails. There are jobs out there that exist. Teaching assistantships and research assistantships are probably a little bit more difficult to get because the professors tend to usually pick students who they already know or who have already been in their classes, who they have a relationship with. So yeah, that's going to be the difference there. Yeah, so this is obviously our admission requirements, but it's an important step. And I just wanted, I've already mentioned that you have to be aware of what the admission requirements are, but I will just give you an example at our university. So as I mentioned before, you have to have a minimum, a grade point average, a GPA of 3.0, but that has to be the minimum. You know, as mentioned before, for certain subjects, it's more realistic that you will be accepted if you have something like 3.5, but at least 3.0. And that's pretty much across the board for many universities in the United States. As mentioned before, you have to have math. That's for all subjects. For every subject that you're applying for, you have to have a math with a C- or better, 3 years of it. So I'm not sure, everyone is at a different stage right now. You can take additional classes if you are in your 11th, 12th grade and you don't have those 3 years, then you can take some extra tests that will put you at that point. In addition to your English language proficiency, like TOEFL or IELTS, you also need to show that you have taken 4 years of college preparatory English. Okay? That is if you want to get that English waiver. What else? 3.5 on your TOEFL. They just changed their scoring. So if you're not, it used to be out of 120. Now they changed it to look more like IELTS. 6.0 on IELTS, 95 on Duolingo. Engineering majors are higher. And yeah, submit the partial official secondary high school transcripts. And then, for example, now the application period is over, but the school year is not over. So we allow you to send us your final transcripts after. So that's not a problem. This is a QR code to our application, and it is actually my job to help you with your application. So if you are ever, at any point filling out your application and you are stuck, send us a message. We have one-on-one Zoom sessions. I'm available by email, and I will give you all that contact information coming up. So, also this was a video that didn't load. Okay, this is pretty much the final information, so please stick with me here. The application timeline and strategy, I would recommend at least 1 year, maybe even 18 months before you intend to start. Finish all your testing, get all of your application requirement classes out of the way, start to prepare the documents you need. You need a valid passport. That means up to for the duration of your stay. So your passport has to be, when you do your visa interview, your passport has to be valid for at least 6 months at the time of your visa interview. So if that's something you need to do, put that on the list. Figure out the submission windows. For example, if you would like to apply, because now fall, our application period is over. So the next upcoming cycle is spring, and this is similar to other universities as well. That's going to open here in a month and a half on July 1st. And then also for fall, our application opens on August 1st, where you can start filling in the application, but the date that you can submit it starting October 1st. So you have to be able also to understand when the application opens and when the application opens to submit. So there are many different, if you see many different timelines, it can be confusing. That's where recruiters like me come in handy. Also, this was going to be a link to a video where it gives tips for international students who are applying for visas. So early preparation increases your success. And I can send this PowerPoint with the link to the video after this presentation. So yeah. Okay, and as mentioned, this is for undergraduate application strategy, but I also put the pamphlet here for the graduate students. We do offer graduate courses as well. We also have 4 PhD programs. And if you scan the QR code for these booklets, you will be able to see what our brochure has, or obviously easy to also just go to the website. We have a virtual tour. We have a mailbox for student inquiries and our website. Yeah. Every Thursday morning in our time, I have 2 hours where I'm connected to Zoom for drop-in sessions for students who would like to apply, as well as just being available all the time. So that's the end of the presentation. And I hope that you're able to understand a little bit more about how important it is to build your application, to build your strategy for applications to be very personal to each and every one of you, and to take into considerations all the things that I mentioned in the presentation. There are a lot of people here to help you, and we're happy to do that. So give us a message, drop into our Zoom sessions, and we're here for you.
Thank you so much, Megan, for this presentation and for covering all the steps. I think it was pretty helpful for our students. We do have some questions in the chat, so maybe we can start with them. And then we also have just a couple of questions from students who have registered before, and they also dropped some questions for you. So I think we can start with this one. And does SGJSU help with internship, and how difficult it is to get an internship in a top company?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I think that it's also an important consideration to take in when you are considering which university to apply to, because you want to have those direct links to job opportunities after. So at our university, we have this thing called the Career Center. And I can't say that anything is guaranteed. Number one, it's going to be a lot about how much effort that you put into it. The internships are available, but it's not guaranteed for everyone, because if you want those internship positions, just like a teaching assistant or a research assistant, you have to put in the effort and you have to show with different letters of recommendation or statement of purpose. But we have many, if you want to go to our website and just type in Career Center, there is somebody to help you every single step of the way. So at our university, when you're in your home country, this is the first point of contact with me, as someone who is in recruitment. But then once you get to our university, your next point of contact is with International Student and Scholar Services. And through them, they have, resume building workshops. They have application strategies. So you can even have book an appointment, book a time with a career counselor that is going to help you understand what opportunities there are available. We have, job and internship fairs. So just looking on our website, I didn't include it in this presentation, but in our other presentation, we have a whole page to show what the job fairs look like. If you go to our website and you type in SJSU job fairs, you can see, for example, now this term has just finished. And in the last term, we had 4 job fairs going on. So even in one semester, there are 4 different opportunities where you have those chances to meet with leaders or who are going to be in the industry to connect you to those internship opportunities. So no, it's not guaranteed, but yes, they are available. And we do as much as we can to set up those interactions where it's going to be possible for you.
Great, thank you so much. The next question is, can I contact you if I plan master's degree in university and I'm an international student?
Oh yeah, 100%. Pina colada, you are welcome to come anytime. So yeah, as mentioned before, we have that brochure where you can see which master's degrees we have available. And I'm available. I give tours all the time to international students. And if I'm not available, we have a team at our Welcome Center. There's always going to be somebody who can help show you around.
Great, thank you so much. So the next question is here on the screen. I have a few questions. How can international students strengthen their application among the local students? And how does your university support students emotionally, academically? Pretty nice question.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's start with the first one. How can international students strengthen their application among local students? So yes, it is true, especially in states like California. We do as much as we can to help support our local population within our community. But that's not to say that there's not going to be room for international students. So, for example, at our campus, we have 40,000 students, and we have the highest number of international students, which is over 3,000. And now, coming up this year, we've actually noticed there are less international students applying just because of some nasty visa regulations, some difficulty with that, but it's not going to be for forever. So let's just hope that the situation gets better. But it doesn't mean that, yeah, there might be some extra documents required, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible. And if you want to talk about strengthening your application versus the local students, as I said, since there's no SAT or ACT, there's no statement of purpose, there's no letter of recommendation, for undergraduate applications, it's just about your GPA. So my advice to you would be not just to make those requirements for the application, but try to do as much as you can to go above and beyond that. And there are a lot of students who will message us and say, "Oh, I got denied. Can you help me with this?" And don't wait until you have the admission decision if you have questions. Many times that we talk to international students, they will say, "Oh, I didn't know I had to upload that document," or it can be confusing. So at the first sign of feeling confused, please reach out to someone. Don't leave it till the end. Because there are a lot of documents that are required, and that's the thing that we're doing. Check your emails as well when it comes to the application period. And how do we support students emotionally and academically? So as mentioned before, the International Student Services and Scholar Services, they really help out. They have weekly events for international students to connect with each other. We have over 300 student organizations. So you can join, Coding for Girls, or snowboard and ski club. There's like Lake Tahoe area that's 3 hours away from here, and they organize weekend trips. There's hiking trips. There's always something to do. And even in San Jose, because we're located right in downtown, it's about 10 minutes away from the international airport, that there's always something going on in the city. Like, for example, for starting this weekend and going on all summer, there are free concerts in the park. So it's a great opportunity to make friends, have things to do. For me, when I was an international student, I think that was the best thing for me not to feel homesick, is connecting to the other international students.
Great, thank you so much. So the next question is, what's the strongest application strategy? Showing long-term commitment to my career path, highlighting what unique value I'd bring to campus, or proving I can handle the academic workload?
Yeah, I think that you're already in the right direction. You're already in the right mindset. And as mentioned before, you don't have to prove any of that. You just have to prove the thing for our university and other universities that consider your application based on your merit is the grades that you have gotten in your high school career is going to show us more than a letter. The proof is in the courses that you have already taken. If you've been able to get good grades in high school, then we have more of idea, or more of an assurance that you can take on the workload. So by having a good GPA, it shows us more than you telling us that you can handle the academic workload, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Okay, and I think we have the last question. So, when evaluating GPA, how do universities take into account the fact that schools have different standards, different requirements? So, the same grade may reflect different levels of student achievement.
This is such a great question, and we've had this so many times. So you guys are not the first international students who are applying. We get thousands of applications. And so, for example, I'm on the recruitment team, but we have another team that assesses the application. And they have been doing this, some members of the team, 15, 20 years. So they are very familiar if you're taking A levels, O levels, you're in IB classes. They know all of the conversions, like the back of their hand. So I would say that don't worry about that. But like I mentioned, always stay in contact with us. Keeping in mind that we do get thousands of applications, that if you have a question or you think that your evaluation wasn't done fairly, please let us know. Don't take no as much as possible. If you hit a road bump or something, you are your biggest advocate. Nobody is going to push as hard, maybe your parents or a family member, but for you. So if you want to get there, you'll have to put in that effort, and you have to show that you care. And by staying aware of, getting that credit. I'll give you an example. There was a student who didn't meet the math requirement, and after doing a little bit of research, our admissions team said, okay, well, maybe you don't meet the math requirement, but because we can't make an exception, if you can take this test at this community college, then we will be able to accept your application. So they're not going to just say, okay, since you asked us, we're going to give it to you. No, they're going to tell you a way that if you can show us that you did this, then now you will meet that requirement. So they're not going to just tell you, no, no, no. They're going to give an explanation why. And something that I also really like from our admissions team and our application is when you apply, you have to select your second choice. So if you are applying to an impacted program like computer science or computer engineering, then maybe it's impacted and you're not able to make it for that one, but you put in something else, aerospace engineering, and then you might get into that one. So it's giving you a second chance where you don't have to start that process all over from the beginning. You don't have to pay the application fee again. You don't have to wait another year. And we can keep doing that. I've seen the case with one applicant, like we offered them 5 different majors. We said, okay, this one's not available, but what do you think about this one? What do you think about this one? Like trying to meet the student where they are to allow them to come in when they want to.
Hey, great. Thank you so much. This is amazing. Okay, and this is definitely the last question for today. So, and this is about the scholarship. Very nice. I'd like to clarify this. Should students that get 100% scholarship work for the university or something like that?
Yeah, if you can completely cover the tuition and the cost of living, and you have enough money, you don't need to get a job, obviously. But if you want to get a job, it's available. And for the first year, international students can only work on campus jobs and only maximum 20 hours per week. Excuse me. So if you're getting a 100% scholarship for through your government, no, focus on your studies. That's more important. If you want to get a job, it's available.
Yeah, that's amazing. Great. Thank you so much for covering so many points in today's presentation. And thanks our students for your questions. They're really helpful for everyone. And yeah, thank you so being interested in this topic as well. I would like to say thank you to you, Megan, for joining us today. And maybe like last wishes to our students, like international applicants, because like their application process will start soon. Like what would you recommend them to do, or like how to start this period in their life?
Okay, yeah, final words of wisdom. I think that if you have an idea of your timeline, you have an idea of where you want to go, then I would already start reaching out to those universities. Maybe the application, like for ours, for example, it's not going to open until August, but we're still getting emails to ask us questions about what can I do to prepare? How can I understand a little bit more? So don't wait for just the application period to open if you have questions. Even, we get international students as well who will apply to many different universities, and we know that. And, maybe they don't select us, but at the same time, it's totally fine. No one is going to have hurt feelings. I'm not going to give you this information because you only give it if you commit to our university. No, we want to help. International recruiters want to help international students study in the United States no matter where they go. And I think, especially as someone who has experience being an international student yourself, it really the experience of being in the country makes a huge difference. Of course, we have online programs, and I'm happy to give a whole nother session about that, or you can follow our website for the different webinars that are coming up if you don't think that you are ready to, if you have visa problems or move physically. But the physical experience of being in the area where you're studying, mixing with the students from all other over 100 different countries, there's absolutely nothing like it on the planet. And for me, as an international student, back when I was 20 years old, that's always been a huge turning point of my life. And that's why I'm in this job, because that's the best thing in the world.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much again for joining us today. And thanks to our students for your questions. For now, we are done. And if you have any other questions, we'll be glad to answer them. And also, I would like to remind everyone that we have an option of one-on-one advising sessions. So you're welcome to join and register for such sessions with our advisors. And yeah, so we'll be looking forward to seeing you next week with our next webinar. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you. Bye-bye.